Hi, everyone. Welcome to Talking Tech with Creative Podcasts. My name is Stella Oni, author, speaker, podcast host. And if you've been listening to my podcast from the beginning, this is my 10th episode, and I've been blown away. My favorite word, I say blown away a lot, and I say amazing a lot by the response to this podcast. I'm really pleased about it because I'm quite passionate about technology because I've got a technology background and I'm passionate about storytelling. And I feel that every one of us out there is a creative of one way or the other. We're creatives, whichever industry you're in. So this is going to be a fantastic ride all along with this podcast. Now, this podcast appears on most audio platforms, podcast platforms, including Apple and Spotify. So remember to subscribe, to follow, to review. If you enjoyed it, go to your review because that would encourage me to keep going. It's also going to appear on YouTube. And this is the 10th episode. So that means that by the time you've watched this, it's probably going to have been published on YouTube. That being the case, make sure that you go to YouTube and subscribe. I've got my special guest today. I am so excited. Her name is Bee Kapitan, and she works in Augmented Reality. She is going to tell us about herself, and she's going to tell us what Augmented Reality is for those who might not know what it is. And we're going to deep dive into what Bee does and see, and we're just going to have a good time. So Bee, welcome to the podcast. Tell us about yourself and what you do.
What I do. First, thank you so much about having me on your show and your podcast. I'm just really honored. So my name is Bee Kapitan, and I think it'd be interesting to let people know how we met, because I think that's kind of fun to like, how do you know this? How do you know each other? Right? And I think that's a good story.
Two geeks
it's a good way to lead into like, what you doing, right? What's going on? So I had the pleasure of meeting Miss Stella in London, and I'm from Vancouver, Canada. And we were at the London Book Fair, and I believe it was in 2022. No, 23.
Was it 23?
Last year, and then we went this year. So it almost feels like this year's over.
Are you sure we met the first time last year? I thought it was 22.
Was it?
I think I met you.
It's going by so fast.
I met you in 22. But then I can't be sure, but it feels like I've known
COVID really messed up my timing. Everything, I still think everything's 2 years from 20. I think we're still in 2022.
And there you were sitting down. What were you doing? Taking notes. And I was looking at sneaking looks at you and thinking, what is she writing? And then we got talking. Go on then. And you told me.
Oh, yeah. No, it was fantastic. First of all, Stella, you're a positive energy. So it's always great to sit next to somebody who is really interested in the same thing that you are, and going to conferences and connecting with authors and finding about what's happening in the world of pretty much kind of a communication in a literary sense. And a lot of it's based on education. And we've got the big players at the London Book Fair. Now I've attended
big ones.
Yeah, it's a whole new world. And I guess I could share a little bit about why I started attending those conferences. And I think that'll lead into my story of like where I am right now a little bit. But was that your first?
No, that wasn't. I started attending London Book Fair since 2012.
Wow. So
yeah, I've been attending every year. I think maybe the only year I might have missed must have been COVID. I think I went every year since 2012, and I've loved it. I've loved it. I've loved what they've done with technology. I think we were like gelled because they had the technology, they had all sorts of technology seminars and
Yeah, so
publishing
they have a
and some
tech hub.
technology. Yeah, tech hub.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it was becoming more innovative. And
Mm-hmm.
well, okay, so I'm from obviously North America, right? And we have different kind of ways that we like being entertained and how kind of books that we like to read and everything
Mm-hmm.
else. And I really found that the big difference being in the publishing industry, and I'll trail back on why I ended up at the London Book Fair, but
Mm-hmm.
it's people in Europe read.
Yep.
And I heard some amazing statistic, and I'm sure it's outdated. And if somebody else knows this in the comments, or
Mm-hmm.
please update us and let us know where I'm wrong. But the one that I heard
Mm-hmm.
back a couple of years back
Yeah.
is that people in Europe tend to read over 50 books a year per person. And
Wow.
that's almost a book a week.
Yeah.
And that's some serious reading.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is for leisure, not
Mm-hmm.
including students
Yeah. Yeah.
that have to read.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in North America, we
Mm-hmm.
love to buy books, but we don't actually read them.
You have them on your shelves.
And most people read maybe less than two in
Really?
a year. But they probably
Wow.
bought a whole bunch that have really pretty covers in their bookcase. But actually, I saw there's a YouTube on it. It's like a woman who's, I can't stop buying books and I'm not reading them. And so she was trying to, so
Go through. Oh
no
my
one's
God.
alone. North Americans really are like that. So going to a place
Uh-huh.
in London where I can be in
Uh-huh.
the tube station and on the side, they're advertising
Books.
book, like
Yeah.
not just one. And it's like people are reading in the tube. Like
Yeah.
I actually went up to people, I'm like you're reading. How
Yeah.
often do you read? And they're
Yeah.
like, all the time. It's part
Yeah.
of my deal, right? And
Yeah.
it's not here. People in North America really enjoy being stimulated in different ways, like TikTok,
Mm.
Instagram, YouTube. And there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with that, but it's just a different way of our societies are the same yet different. And I'm sure,
Mm.
yes, there are a lot of people glued to their phones in the UK as well,
Yeah.
and all over
Yeah.
Europe.
Yeah.
But so one of the reasons why I went to my first London Book
Yeah.
Fair was 2018. I went. And
Ah,
the reason I went
2018.
was I had worked on and published
Uh-huh.
to self-publish and help co-author a book about
Mhm.
cheese. Believe it or
I
not.
remember you telling me about it, and I went to have a look. You told me about it, and I went to have a look at it.
Yeah, so it's an interactive book that's
Mm-hmm.
primarily made for the Apple iPad. So I'll share a little side note there,
Mm-hmm.
like I'll deeper dive into about fixed format
Yeah.
publishing and digital publishing, but I'll
Yes,
just keep on the path of why I was there. But keep that in mind.
I will. I will
'Cause there is
definitely.
politics involved. Yeah.
I'm
I'm
all ears.
spelling the tea here, Stella.
I'm all ears. I'm all ears.
I'm spilling the tea. I'm telling the truth. You got me right here. I gotta
Speedy.
take a sip because it's gonna get really hot in
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. Spill it, spill it.
Mm. Okay, so it took us 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and the author,
Mm-hmm.
what mid-project, up and moved to Australia to went from being a cheesemonger to wanting to be a cheese maker,
Oh,
and
cheese,
wanted to do
not a cheese
an
maker.
apprenticeship in Australia.
Uh-huh.
And as we were working on the book,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to these stories of like how the power of writing something can
Mm-hmm.
really help and change your career or your
The
direction of
trajectory. Yeah.
and your approachability for people
Mm-hmm.
as well. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we on the author's application to
Mm-hmm.
get into hopefully a dairy that would take them in as an intern. It said that they were an author working on a book, and
Mm-hmm.
they found out later that was one of the reasons they got hired.
Oh.
So the book wasn't even finished at that point. So it took us a while, and I was working on other projects. I have my background
Yeah, I was going to ask
prior
that
to doing
question.
these books, these interactive books, was I was a web designer.
Yeah.
And I started back in the late 90s. So
Wow,
we're
the
now
notice,
showing my
the
age.
notice.
No, I gotta put the
Don't
stage.
you worry about that. Age is just a number. Let's move on from
Yeah,
there. In the
yeah,
digital age,
you're
there's no
right.
age. There's no
You're
age.
totally right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. It's how much do you want to learn? And because there's you can, your body can age, but you don't have to, anybody doesn't have to mentally grow up. It's an option.
I'm still a baby. I'm still 21.
Yeah. So I learned at that time in the late 90s, I learned how to code by viewing the source and and learning Photoshop on all these stacks of CDs. And but one of the great things at that time, even though it was very much and still can be, it's getting better, and
Yeah.
I'll talk more about that and then a little bit more, but is that it was very male dominated.
You can tell me about
In
it.
the 90s, being a web designer or doing
Yeah, yeah.
code, it was not
It
very
was
common.
seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, and the internet was very new. And people were thinking, much like how AI is like the new rebirth. And I'll touch base on that. I'll try to speed up my little life story, but I learned at that time. And one of the great things, and I'm throwing out tips here, how just learning how to learn HTML and Photoshop really helped me get other jobs, even though at that time I was like an executive admin at that time and using those skills. And I ended up working for a company and they had an intranet. So have you ever worked on an intranet?
Of
So
course, yeah. So
yeah, and I learned, so I was on a part of a company that was global and they ran Creo products and they were responsible for computer to print technology, and it wiped out about 9 jobs. Are you hearing like how technology wipes out jobs? Because people who used to do printing, there was a 9-step process to get where you need to go. And this is pixel perfect $1 million machines back then.
Wow.
So being able to be a part of something where I created an intranet, which is an internal
Within the organization.
an intranet opposed to an internet is where people can access this unless it's behind a firewall and you have to put your membership in. But an intranet is usually what a company is, where they have all their documents, they have all their communications, and they share things and resources. So I was working on that and helping out roll out Prinigy, and that is their staple software. So it was really interesting because I had been working on that on a side thing when I was on my maternity leave and created my website that won a little award, right? And
award winning.
And yeah, so that's how I got that gig. So that kind of launched my learning how technology was moving forward. And I learned about, so I'm in Canada and I am on the border that's near Seattle. I'm on the West Coast.
Oh,
And
okay.
so there's Seattle Web Girls. And so I joined that.
Seattle Web Girls. So
fantastic.
let me just interrupt and just say something to the listeners. So we're talking about curiosity now. Bee was taking her passion and her curiosity and learning, and this is what has made her into what she is now. Because she's still learning, she's still at the cutting edge of current technology from that time to now. So there's never a time that you cannot start if you haven't started. If you're already into it, welcome to our world.
Yes, most definitely. And that is, if anybody takes anything away from this podcast, it's exactly what you just said, Stella. It's not how old you are. It's your passion to do something that's outside of yourself and wanting to learn, just wanting to learn and knowing that it's changing all the time. And sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not easy. It all depends. But if everything was easy,
it will never. No, nothing. It's got to challenge you a little bit. So let's just because of time and all that.
Yes, most definitely.
So from there, where did you now? Because I want to know how you got into augmented reality, and tell us what augmented reality is for those who don't know.
Okay. I spent a long time as a web designer, and I ended up working for universities, pharmaceutical companies,
Mm-hmm.
and fine artists.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very good career,
Fantastic.
and I worked from home.
Mm-hmm.
So I could probably, I think when I start my own podcast, which it'll be, and hopefully here in the fall,
Yeah,
one
yeah,
of the things I'm going to address is about what it's really like to be working from home for the last 25 years
yeah,
and how that's
yeah.
changed. But
That's your
moving
own business. So
forward,
your own business, you've been
yeah,
your
my own
own.
business.
Yes,
So
fantastic.
being a
Yeah.
consultant, yeah, being
Mm-hmm.
a consultant helps. You can start that, and it
Mm-hmm.
gave me the flexibility because I was a mother
Mm-hmm.
and needing to take care of my child.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very fortunate that my partner at the time was also very much into HTML and
Mm-hmm.
learning and self and did public relations for online games. So I learned about
Awesome. Yeah.
I end up calling myself a game widow because they're
Mm.
always playing these games, right? But fast forward, doing that for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
I took some breaks. I
As
did go back to school and I went to a local tech community, like a tech college.
mm-hmm.
I was working still with at the UBC, and
Yeah.
I went back to get my certificate, right? So
Fantastic. Yeah.
I was working with
Yeah, that's
women who
good.
did their MBAs,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Here I am, I'm doing websites. It's just that the technology and the programs and certificates weren't available back then. And that
Mm-hmm.
was back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Moving forward, I made another couple of those interactive books that I talked about
Yes.
for another client. I've just really that was really interesting. This other book, it's called The Power of Nordic Unity, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a free download. But as I was mentioning before, the interactive books that I was making for the cheese book,
Mm-hmm.
it was made primarily for the Apple iPad. So that
Okay.
means you can't get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
You can't add it to
Oh, yeah, yeah. Really.
one of those tablets,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just not that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it has pop-ups, it has audio, it has
Mm-hmm.
galleries, all
Different
touch
things that you could do.
technology,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
this company that hired me, they
Mm-hmm.
did it for their 40th anniversary, and mid-project, and this is in 2020, so when everybody was cleaning their closets, I was working really hard on this book to celebrate their 40th anniversary
Mm-hmm.
about their Nordic, and they are what Nordjanet is. They represent the 5 Nordic countries for NRENs, and so they are National Research Education in Science, and it's a
Okay.
network that these scientists use. So we have the internet, they
Mm-hmm.
have their own special one.
Wow.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so for the data scientists and the people
Mm-hmm.
around the world, like things that are really making the world
Mm-hmm.
happen
Mm-hmm.
and secure, right?
Yeah.
So they are a part of those great technologies that have moved other people in the commercial
Mm-hmm.
sphere ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So when I did this book, mid-project, Apple discontinued the software. Yeah.
Typical, huh?
So to make the book. So that meant they weren't. And so I was using, so it just shows how you have to be resourceful.
Continued the soft.
Yeah. So I was like, I was at a turning point.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's going to happen? So the book is still, you can read it, right? It just means that it's not available to make any more of these amazing books, the software.
Mm-hmm.
And InDesign
Mm-hmm.
does not do the same justice, right?
And
It
InDesign,
can,
yeah.
but we do
Yeah.
have versions on the site. So it's Nordjanet. So you can get
We'll put
fit, but there's a digital rights management, like a DRM, which locks
mm-hmm.
books in. But if it's a
Okay.
free book, we have a free version that you can download a reader called Lithium,
Okay.
and you
Okay.
can check it out. So anyway, jumping from that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, here I am all immersed in my publishing world. I would go to conferences called Digital Book World in New York and Nashville
Mm-hmm.
and meeting all these things and
Exciting. Sounds
thinking how
really exciting.
publishing was
Yeah.
going to move
Mm-hmm.
forward. But it wasn't. And I met, so another London Book Fair moment.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
At this really lovely woman. And we go to these networking events or after hours, people are like breaking out the bubbly or at least some juices and so forth.
Break out the bubbly, guys.
Yeah, just to let people know.
Yeah.
I love the London Book Fair so much.
Of course.
I won't miss it.
It's when they're winding down and
Yeah. So anyway, so long story short is I met this amazing author
Mm-hmm.
and I showed her my iPad of this book, and she's thinking, you should really do coffee table books like that, but for businesses like whiskey distilleries and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then I'm realizing I can't because the software doesn't exist anymore. But then I realized I really love print, just like
Yeah.
everybody else does.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a huge, I'm like, where's the bridge between the digital engagement and the
the
beauty
real
of the
and the
print,
prints, yes.
right? And so that started me on my journey, and it got me excited just thinking about it, and I just couldn't let it go. And that's when AI came out, and I was on Mid-Journey. I was able to start using prompts to bring my visions together. Like, I want to create this augmented reality app for a whiskey distillery in Ireland. Help me, show me.
Yeah, let me stop you. Tell our audience, the people who don't know what augmented reality
Oh,
is,
most definitely.
what
Yeah.
is augmented reality in the
So
simplest term?
in the simple terms, so I'm going to throw out a term. First is XR. So you're going to hear the term XR.
XR, yeah.
That is basically a broader term that encompasses all the different technologies that we use these cases. So if somebody says, I do XR, it's just like, I do the internet, right? Kind of that blanket term. So virtual reality is immersive. And you're in your own environment and you're consumed.
So you have the goggle.
Yeah, and you put on
I've got a goggle here.
Yeah, so the Meta headset 2 or 3, the Apple lenses, and there's so many more that are coming out right now. And so you're going to hear things, and it's going to take you in another realm. You're immersed. You're not really. And now, again, with the Apple Vision Pro, they're trying to create what's called mixed reality, where you can actually see other people in your scope while you're wearing the headset, so that you're not oblivious to hurt yourself, right? Because there's safety concerns. So that's where that is. And it's 3D based. So augmented reality, and where I'm really focused on, is it's like a digital layover of the actual world. So we use our phones or tablets to actually see these installations or have these experiences. Most of them are accessed through a QR code or an app. Now, if anybody knows Pokemon Go, that's what
I was going to mention.
Reality is.
Parents, if you have your children, I'm sure if you're a parent and you have children of a certain age, they'll be using Pokemon Go, trying to go and with their phones, because they use the phone now, don't they, to try and catch the Pokemon. So that's reality. So that's digital and the real. That's what
it's an overlay. But then there's mixed reality. And that's also a digital element in the real world. So these could be possibly with the headset, or possibly with the new glasses that are coming out, and how that or could possibly be with your phone. So what happens is, if you use your phone and you have a higher version like an iPhone 15 that has an M2 chip in it, you can scan your room and it creates a mesh, and therefore it's going to determine. So if you have here's a piece of paper. If there's a creature or a game that you're playing and it's hiding behind the couch, because we've scanned our room, the actual 3D character will know it'll be in that space, and it'll feel like a mix of reality and along with the digital layover.
So I wanted to say as well that I think even the retailers, some of the retailers that we have here, and I'm sure it's all over now, are using augmented reality, because I've tried to buy something and they've said if you scan that corner of your room, they do an overlay. So let's say you're buying a TV or you're buying a screen or something and you want to know how it fits in your room. I think some retailers are doing that now. So some people would have actually come across some kind of augmented reality and not understand that this is what it is. But this is just So this is your creativity and just learning that technology to bring it into that mix of digital and physical. It's incredible.
So that's broader. So if I dive more deeper, it's more into the AR,
Yeah,
and that's primarily exactly what you're talking about.
yeah,
And it's letting you, like, that's very common with the IKEA app, is
yes.
where you can scan your room and see what the couch will look like or the table will look like in your home,
Mm-hmm,
or where if a TV will fit with electronics. And the
mm-hmm,
other thing that people are doing within the AR realm is it's very diverse. There's 4 or 5 different ways you can access AR, and they all
mm-hmm,
do different things.
mm-hmm,
So the one that you're talking about, and that leads into that in the world of merchandise, is you can try things on,
mm-hmm,
like earrings, watches,
mm-hmm,
phone,
mm-hmm.
or phones,
Your glasses, even you,
your
yeah,
glasses.
yeah, yeah,
Yes, your
yeah,
glasses.
yeah.
And so then if we lead into that, then we have face filters or
Mm-hmm.
snaps or lenses from Snapchat, TikTok, where
That's
you
it.
can do the fun filters on your,
That's it. That's it.
and they
Yeah.
have ones for pets now too.
Yeah. And they're fantastic. So people are
You can make
using the
money that way.
technology.
I haven't started yet, but you can make money if you're a good creator, and you can make games and tilt your head and different things like that.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of those communities.
Yeah.
So if people are aspiring and they really think that those are fun and they'd like to try it, they have
Yeah.
huge communities where you can learn, and
Yeah.
lots of tutorials.
Yeah. So the question now is, so in terms of the projects that you're working on, obviously you worked in publishing, and then of course you're doing this augmented reality, XR, and all that. Yeah. Because we have the different spectrums, don't we, of what they are. So for someone that is okay saying that, oh, I'm quite interested in doing something immersive and I want to start out, what is your advice to those people when they want to start out, if they want to start out in this?
I'll share 2 other methods that you
Mm-hmm.
can use AR, and that might help other people know where they want to begin.
Mm-hmm.
There's other ones that are marker and markerless, right? And then there's geospatial,
Okay.
and they all 3 are different.
Mm-hmm.
Marker based is where you have a actual design
Mm-hmm.
that you have made some kind of augmented reality experience, which could be anything from a video, an animation, a
Mm-hmm.
game. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever is triggering that image will then display on your phone, whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have a definitive object. It has to recognize it. So it could
Yeah.
be your book cover, let's
Yeah.
say for authors.
Yeah.
And it could animate your cover and then pop up all your social media icons, and it can
That's
link to things. So that's again like marketing and promotions. The
that is
other
good.
one
So how do
that's,
they do that? How do they do that? Let's tease that one out. So
you
if they
want to
want to
tease that
say,
one out? Because
let's
I've
tease
got
out
other
because they'll
ones
be
that you're gonna
interested.
like
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
where
Let's number
that's where
one.
I'm heading.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll tell you, so that with that one,
Mm-hmm.
you can access those from QR codes as well. If you're an author and you have your cover, you want to make it in augmented reality, you got to think, what is it that I want it to do once I get the person to capture whatever it is, if it's your cover. So
Yeah.
you would be responsible for creating
Mm-hmm.
a animation or whatever that may be. A video, I think, is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, there's a whole bunch of different kinds of software out there that you can use it. Now, some are more complex and some are more user-friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But just like a website, I just want to share this, like, you know how we have our website on a server and we
Mm-hmm.
pay for that. And then
Yeah.
if we get like 1,000,000 hits
Yeah.
on our website, they're going to hand us a big bill if we don't have that kind of data
I
bandwidth.
tell you,
So
yeah.
augmented reality is the same thing. A lot of this stuff is secured on servers and it has to
Mm-hmm.
be accessed. So
Mm-hmm.
we think about things like latency, like how long does it take in order for the person to download that experience and wait for it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things to consider,
Mm-hmm.
but there are, like, Zappar is a good company, and Eighth Wall for the developers.
Mm-hmm.
They, all of these things, they have the tools where you can bring in these, scan things in, get
Mm-hmm.
it to recognize.
On
And
those
so
platforms, on those
all those
platforms.
platforms.
So
So
are
how
they
I learned
do
about
they have a
that.
subscription model? So do you have to pay, you pay to use
Yeah, so what I'm
to work
saying
on
is
those
wherever
platforms?
you host it,
Yeah.
wherever
Mm-hmm.
you're going to host your experience. So if you're zapping it, where does it live?
Yeah. Yeah. So you
It,
got to think about that.
it's sitting on your computer at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like anything. You have
Mm-hmm.
to pay for hosting services, and how many times. So again, even with, I think it would be really great. I actually mentioned this at the London Book Fair this year, and I asked one of the panels, with TikTok
Mm-hmm.
and that being like knowing this is where your stuff is being hosted and everything
Yeah.
else, and they are really into their marketing. If you tied in, if you did one of those facial changes or a game or something
Yeah.
for your pet, and if it's based on your book, you
Mm-hmm.
can run a campaign through Snapchat and with this filter, and you could target it as your book advertising, right? Based on a character in your book,
In your
right?
book,
And you're
yes.
reaching a whole new audience of these
Wow.
younger
This is
people.
what I was telling you about. Remember, I was telling you about that character. Just being able to do
Yeah,
things with your character, different things. Just the discovery that if you have your character somewhere, that you can
mhm,
actually do different things with it. That even if you can't do
yes.
it, you might be able to find people who will do it for you. If you're
There's a lot
excited,
of
yeah,
people.
there's a lot. There's directions that people can go to. In fact, what we're talking about is unexplored markets that needs to be explored, that is not being explored now.
That's right.
Traditionally,
That's right.
that is new but exciting. And I'll be taking the names and the links from Bee so that I put it in the show notes so that I can go and explore for yourself if you're interested in that, or if you want to
Yes,
speak to someone
definitely.
who knows. That is
Yeah. So just
exciting,
really
yeah.
quick. Yeah, I was just gonna go, and then I want to go deep on just to give more tips to people and some
Mm-hmm.
really good resources. I want to
Mm-hmm.
offer some really great resources
Yeah,
that I've
yeah.
not even had because we could probably talk for 4 hours. I know we got to make it snappy, snappy. People are doing stuff, things to do. Got to make supper, got to laundry and get to work.
Supper, yeah.
So the other one that, okay, so I went back to school. So
Mm-hmm.
I told myself I was so excited about after the London Book Fair. And then I went, prior to that, I went to Digital Book World in New York that year. And I met
Mm-hmm.
some high-end luxury printers.
I love that. I love the word
Yeah,
luxury. Go on
so
there.
I and
I'm
like
all
we're
ears.
high-end books, like we're talking a limited edition,
Those kind
sprayed,
of books that sprayed
beautiful
edges,
stuff,
the books
beautiful,
that you say,
high-end,
my pretty. I've got books like that.
beautiful
I've
stuff.
got
So it
books
got me
like that.
really
Yeah.
hopped up on
Mhm.
thinking if you give somebody an experience already because they love books, then you can put the other layer of augmented reality. Now, as we know with technology, things could change in 5 years, but you would still have this beautiful book.
Yeah.
One would don't know, but things evolve and change, just like VHS and beta, if you're
Yeah.
old enough to
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah.
And so knowing that so I was all excited. And then I realized I need to know more. I need to know more if I'm going to do this part of my business. I really need to learn. And so I went to Circuit Stream. It was a 10-week intensive
Sorry,
through,
where did you go?
it's online. And
Okay,
I,
what's it called?
pardon me,
What was it called?
it's called Circuit Stream.
The
I took the design and prototyping
Mm-hmm.
for XR. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was really good. So really quick overview on what that's like.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an inexpensive course.
Mm-hmm.
It costs, but you have hands-on, like you attend a Zoom, and I had to learn Unity, and we also had to learn on the VH, like
Mm-hmm.
sorry, the headsets,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And the thing that I wasn't really prepared for, because no, I bought the headset just to be in school. I was more interested in AR, but
Mm-hmm.
VR is a part of the course. That when you wear the headset, you have to go in and you have to use this software and learn how to build with your controllers in the metaverse.
Wow.
Yeah, so I wasn't used to that, wearing a headset and trying to design.
I'm trying
Now
to
I'm
design
used to
in the
it.
metaverse. Wow.
Yeah, so I could only wear it for about an hour before I would start to sweat. But I have learned that a lot of people that happens to, you do get used to it after a
Mm-hmm.
while.
Yeah.
But again, it's learning different tools. So then we went to learn Unity, and Unity is a full-on game engine. It is a very
Wow. I've heard of
complex
it. Yeah,
piece
yeah,
of
yeah.
software that takes probably between 30 minutes to set up, just to set up before you can even start designing or
Mm-hmm.
creating
Mm-hmm.
anything. There's so many configurations that need to happen based on what you're trying to produce. It's a
Mm-hmm.
superior tool, but
Wow.
it's very inundating,
Beautiful. Yeah.
intimidating, and there's a lot. And if you miss a switch, but the
Wow.
great thing about these courses is they record them and
Mm-hmm.
you can go back and then go through the lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed going through those courses. It was quite demanding,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to learn. And then the other part was then, so I'm getting into what I started creating. So then we got into AR. Yay, I was so excited. And we learned from MetaSpark. We went and then started using a free program right now, which is called Adobe Aero. And it's still in beta. But it was a really great tool. So as everybody was doing for their final project an VR experience, which was pretty limited because you're doing your lessons and then you have to do your final project. As students out there, a lot of work. So I did AR and I did Dewey, the desktop companion, and he's a little ghost with a little, very cute. And I made an interactive AR experience that was for the desktop. And that is a markerless one because you're not dependent upon scanning an image to get access to this experience. You scan a barcode and I can
That's
put
good.
a link.
Yeah, I like
I had
that.
to do a case study for it was a part of my final. And so if you want to play with Dewey and have some fun, we'll put the links in there. And it got me a very good grade. And I was recognized by the school for my project. So I was quite pleased by that. Now I'm older and I was with a lot of really talented people, probably in their mid-30s.
Okay.
They were designers that were looking to switch it up. So that's primarily the people that I've met. Now, get me wrong. So here's some resources for people. Now we're getting into what I do now and who I'm connected with. And one of a couple of entities is XR Women is an online entity.
XR Women, okay.
XR Women. And they are a nonprofit group that are helping women just give them a place of unity and resources to move forward. So I just wanted to put that out there. They also give discounts. They usually get a lot of discounts for people who want to attend different conferences. And so that helped me considerably attend this year's AWE in Long Beach, California, where I got to meet a lot of these people.
What's AWE? What's that one?
Pardon me?
What's AWE?
AWE is Augmented Augmented World. Oh, geez.
So Augmented World
Expo.
Something.
Expo.
So
Augmented World Expo. Geez, I didn't.
So if you're in like in arts, in design,
it does.
You want to get to the next level or work on your trajectory, you should be listening to what Bee is saying now. So a lot of people might say, okay, this might have nothing to do with me, but you might actually be an author who wants to also, or author or someone, a creative who wants to employ someone in this field and you want to know what you're looking out for. So this is relevant to you as well. But more than anything else, look at that Augmented World Expo. That sounds exciting.
Yeah. So this is for hardcore folks, right? That are really interested and to learn more. So this is where now this is the one, it's a global organization. So this was the one for North America. I do have this listed up here. I just want to share really quickly before I get into it, is they have one that's happening here for the people in Europe. And that's in the fall. So I wanted to share that.
So that'd be September, October.
It's awexr.com. But if you type in AWE, and the one that's happening in Vienna, Austria is October 29th and 30th. So yeah, and if I don't think by the time that this is shared, there's another one that happens as well, and it's for the people in Asia, and that's in August. But that's where we are right now, but not until the 26th. So they might miss it, but they might go next year, right? So if people, you never know where people are listening in. So it's an incredible conference. There's a lot of breakout categories. They had probably over 500 speakers, and they have everything on their floor, the conference floor, all sorts of abilities to try on these new hardwares and inventions, because they're trying to get them in front of developers and companies that are already interested. And so I got to try on my first pair of Vision Pro Apple and try that out. You get to try on a lot of different headsets that are trying to become more augmented reality than virtual reality.
Yeah.
And that was very exciting.
Wow.
But the lines were pretty long to get into
To
those.
get into
You
that.
have to sign up for them.
Mhm.
But it was really exciting. The XR Women Awards were there, and they really celebrated these amazing women for their achievements. And there's
Yeah.
many. I can't tell you off the top of my head because they're
Mhm.
all very interesting and quite complex. But the one thing that I didn't touch base on when I was talking about, there's one other one when I was talking about the geospatial, one of the reasons why I went to this conference is about the law
Okay.
and the legal implications of using some of these. So when I was in school, I was learning about geospatial, but we didn't do it there. And because I had used the Adobe Aero, I signed up for the Adobe Aero geospatial beta plan. So this is free. So what this does is it's like Pokemon Go, and you can create, I created like this 10-foot wide Valentine, and I made my own music. I generated my assets through 3D text to AI, and I created this amazing kind of experience. It's just like an ornament that plays music, and you can touch it. And actually, I have it on my TikTok, so we'll put that link in there, and you can
We'll put
see
the
it.
link in.
Yeah.
So do people just watch it as normal when they watch it? They watch it as normal, or do they have?
Yeah, so they're just going to see a recording of it that I took
Okay.
with my phone.
Yeah.
So there's another
So
one that's like a Chinese dragon at night in the rain, and it has shadows.
wow. So
So
when
it's
you,
like an experience that you see outside. So
yeah.
my concern is when I went to this, where there was some actual legal, there was only two, but I
Legal
attended
people, yeah.
both. And I asked them about, like, with Pokemon Go, think about it. When people are walking around looking at their phone trying to
Yeah.
find something,
Yeah.
they hurt themselves. Who's
Oh
liable?
gosh. I tell you something, like some months back, I saw I was on a bus. I'm in London. We have buses here. Sat on the
Yeah.
bus, saw this group of young people with phones. Me, when I'm on the bus, all I do is read. People will see me on my phone, but I'm actually reading a book or something. But I saw them all intently staring on their phones and all chattering excitedly. And the next minute, they all rushed out of the bus when the bus stopped, right in the middle of a double, we call it dual carriageway. They went cross over to pass all the traffic, went in the middle of the dual carriageway, and you could see them with the phones. And I thought, OMG. These young people are so excited about it, they're not even thinking about safety. So I don't know. Yeah.
So I always want to asking those things because to think about it, there's some really amazing companies out there, high-end luxury brands right now are doing this.
Yeah.
So
Which
they'll have,
luxury brands do you
so you
think?
can have an
Anyone?
augmented reality part.
Yeah. No, I said, which do you know any kind of brand that is doing?
Yeah, so Gucci,
I heard
Dior,
about Gucci,
and stuff like that. So what they're doing is they're creating more of an AR experience right through your phone, and you can look at one of their
Overlaid, yeah.
buildings outside one of their shops, and it'll give like a whole experience. And so the couple of things that I was asking about was, and there's people writing about it, and it's a digital clutter, right? So let's say that you have a business in a really great area and it's cool, and all of a sudden I start putting all of my augmented reality geospatial experiences outside your coffee shop, and all the influencers and people go there. Do you know what I mean? And like, if this is happening and the more prevalent
Who
this
gets
software
what?
is
Who gets
available,
what?
I
Yeah.
can see issues,
Yeah,
is what I was saying. So
And
what they were telling me is for now we're okay. It's the liability has to come from, you have to have a disclaimer that people are using these things at their
at
own
their own
risk,
risk.
and there's an age cap because children are very impressionable.
Yeah.
And with the Pokemon Go, I think that really helped. That was a great experiment. And you learn through the boundaries of what happens when you release those kinds of things. And that's been out for a long time.
Yeah. So I wanted, for those people that don't understand what geospatial is, can you just simply, in a simple terms, tell them what geospatial is? So is it?
It's like it's augmented reality. What you're seeing, it's the outdoor version that's plotted on Google Earth. So here, a good example, when I was saying about, I was making all these Valentines, I was plotting, I would make my 3D experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would load it up in Adobe Aero,
Mm-hmm.
and I would load up a version of the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would find my friends in New York
Mm-hmm.
or London
Mm-hmm.
or Salt Spring Island, and I would plot that little experience on their lawn. And
And
then I
then
would send them a QR code and I'd say, go find it because it's on your lawn. And that's what I did. And so
can
that's
you
what
imagine that happening at
those
Christmas? Christmas on your
yes
lawn.
experiences.
Can
Pardon
you
me?
imagine that happening Christmas? Remember Christmas on
Yes.
your lawn? That would be so
People are doing
magical.
that. Mm-hmm.
That would
So
be
if you can do
magical.
that, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
So,
like and people get married, a celebration of life. I actually asked a woman from that I met, and she's a part of end of life, right? Cremation and stuff like that, but it's opposed like a new way of doing things. And I said, you could have a celebration of life, right?
yeah, but
Like
in this way,
anything you
yeah.
can think of, like it could be anything. You can have a 50-foot or no, more than that, whale flying over your house.
That is
Whale, like, and it
incredible. It
looks
will be
like
so
a
magical.
turd.
And I'm sure it's coming soon. Very soon, it will be a common thing.
It's
It will be
all changing
common.
real fast.
Yeah.
So AI, I just want to touch base on some of the people that just to give some resources of who to follow for the trends, because I
Okay.
know we're chatting for a while now, and I wanted to make sure I get that in there about people who are really interested in AI and all of this other thing. So again, XR Women is if you're interested in finding a community.
Mm-hmm.
They have meetings every Wednesday, and you are on like a metaverse type
That's
and
online.
you're an
Online.
avatar, yeah.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
want to join that if you want. You can
Mm-hmm.
go to their website, and they're also on LinkedIn and all the socials.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing is there's another organization, but it's for people who have their own company or
Mm-hmm.
who are hardcore into VR and AR development,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the VR AR Association, and they are global. And so they
Okay.
have chapters all around the world. So I have one here in Vancouver, and there's one in California. Like
So there's
they're all over the world. So just letting you know, and there's some perks to being a member there, but it is paid and it's not
yeah.
low end, right? But the great thing about them is you can, and I'm myself, I have to become a member because one of the perks of having them is you can test out on their, you can rent some of the, instead of investing in all of the headsets, you can
Yeah.
rent them
Yeah.
and you can share, right, to test your stuff. And so about AI, I really love like text to create images or 3D. And one person I think you should follow and who's incredible, her name is Heather Cooper. And she's
Heather Cooper. Okay.
she has her own YouTube channel.
Okay.
And she has her tutorials. She's done tutorials, and this woman is incredible. She is a pharmacist. That and a
So
mom,
this is a
and yet
side gig.
she
Oh
is
my God,
really
awesome.
immersed in AI. She is one of the top
Heather
people
Cooper.
who make
Yeah.
stuff,
So
and
I've said it
she
slowly.
shares
Go find her. I'm gonna
everything.
go find her. Yeah.
On X, the best place to get access to see her work on the daily is
So on X, I'll go to X.
really
Go and look. Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So the next resource I wanted to share with everybody, and I actually got to meet this person in real life in Long Beach out of the blue as I'm
Long
walking out.
Beach. Okay.
I was so excited. I was like, this person is my favorite go-to for AI.
Yeah.
And his name is Matt Wolf. And he
Okay.
is
Matt
Mr.
Wolf.
eFlow on Twitter, which he has a following, but he has over 600,000 followers on YouTube.
I am
So
going to
he's
be
Matt
follower.
Wolf,
Okay,
and
yeah.
he explains the news, the drama. He does tutorials. Great guy. I just a good vibe. And he has a website. So it's called futuretools.io. And that's where he really curates a good list of not high-end AI tools of what you can use because they're popping up daily. And so that's an excellent resource.
Yes, fantastic.
The other person that you can follow on Twitter or /X is Robert Scoble. And there's one other person I wanted to share about. Robert
familiar, yeah.
Scoble was around, he's around my age, and he's been around since the beginning of Surrey. So he's a former strategist at Microsoft, and he is an amazing man. He has a community, an AI community, and yeah, they're giving out. He's connected with a lot of amazing people, and he attends. He speaks a lot of in Twitter Spaces, and he makes himself available. And he's just he reminds me of he's like a good old cowboy kind of guy. And there's one
Yeah,
last person I want to share that I just thought was really, I just touched me and about this XR kind of community.
yeah,
So I was on primarily a lot of these people I find are on X, right?
yeah.
So that's where I post most often, or where I'm looking for the latest kind of information about VR, AR, XR, or
Yeah,
MR, mixed
yeah,
reality. So this guy, his name is Tony. He's
mhm,
Italian.
yeah. Italian.
He's from Italy, and he's
Italian. Hi,
hilarious.
Tony.
Hi, Tony. I'm gonna send him a link. He's one of the most, he put on, and we'll put links. He did a mixed reality where he somehow got it to attach the mesh to a bottle and then was pouring like a magic. I can't explain it well
So,
enough, but you have to see it's like
yeah.
sparkles coming out of the
So,
water,
so
and you need
people,
a VR
yeah,
headset.
people, all of, because I know we've been talking a while, and some might fly over your head. Some you
Yeah,
might understand. So if
yeah.
you want to know what we're talking about or what Bee has been talking about, because she's the expert here, all those we'll put all these people on the show notes. Go see what is happening out there, because you probably see you're going to see it first in movies, and you see it in different, you might see it maybe in social media. But so VR, virtual reality,
Yeah.
AR, augmented reality, XR stands for B. What does it stand for?
XR is just a company, it's an umbrella of all of the technologies.
So it's an
So I just want to say
umbrella of
one
all the
last thing about
technology.
Tony,
Yeah.
about him. I reached out to him on Twitter and said how great I thought what he had
What is
posted
done?
was, and
Yeah.
I thought he was incredible. And then I saw that he posted that he was going to AAWE that year and in
Oh.
June. And I said, do you have any advice for somebody who's going there for the first time? Because there's
Mhm.
so much going on. And the
Mhm.
fear of missing out, like the FOMO, is
Yeah,
real.
yeah, of
He
course.
not only, he wrote a blog post on his blog like my question inspired him. So
Right.
I
Oh.
will, like, yeah, definitely in the show notes on his blog about what it's like to attend the first time. And so I went and saw
Mhm.
him speak at his presentation and when I
Mhm.
was there, and
Mhm.
thanked him very much for that. So it was
Mhm.
really great. So again, in the show notes, that's the way we can add some value. This man's like probably a genius,
Yeah.
and he's so funny too. His presentation was
I like
fantastic.
geniuses.
Yeah,
Scary
he
people.
was,
I'm
and
just
he's
joking.
really smart, and he
So,
makes a lot of crazy stuff.
I'm going to ask a question. Yeah. So there's
Mhm.
me, ordinary me, who likes to write, who likes to speak. That's my power, and I'm very interested in food, in technology, quite a few things. I dive into the rabbit hole, and I want to. I use. So this is what I'm saying to people now, like me, where you have a multiple bits of different things that you do, and you can bring that back and use it. So I have a character that I want to experiment with, a character that I'm going to do all sorts of things with, yeah, in a book. So if I was say, let's say I've got a short story about this character, what are the ideas that you give me about the things I could do with this character if I was going to do XR, VR, or any of those things? Because I come from the writing bit of this, I don't have the design or anything. What ideas would you give me?
My first advice would be open to learning
Okay.
about the new technology. Don't get frustrated, and applaud yourself that you want to look at a new way of doing things to engage more people in a new way.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I would say is, if you want to, I would say augmented reality is probably going to be your best bet if you're a self-published author.
Mm-hmm.
VR is going to cost you, unless you're learning how to do it yourself. You're looking at something that's going to start at $50,000
Okay,
just
so
to
like a movie. So if you want to
experience
create a movie,
VR.
yeah, yeah.
So if you want an actual, and that's probably lowball. And anything else, so augmented reality has a lot more tools. So if
Mm-hmm.
I would just say there is the possibility to do it yourself. They're coming, making more things. So as an author, here's the top 3 things that I think you could do with augmented reality. The
Mm-hmm.
first one I would say is something with your book cover, right? So you have obviously some form of QR code. So I would
Mm-hmm.
suggest, we don't want to put that on the front book cover,
Mm-hmm.
but we could have a bookmark with the QR code on it.
Okay.
And that would lead people into,
Oh,
the thing I like to say is it's like a secret world. right? When you scan things and nobody else knows what you're looking at, you're the one having the experience
Tell
on
you
your
the experience,
tablet.
yeah.
Realize that, so you can animate your book cover and you could flip it over and they can have access to all your socials, so people could click and go to your website. So
Fantastic.
all read interactive. You can make a t-shirt that's animated that people know, okay? Or
Okay, so you make the
anything.
t-shirts and you put a kind of
Yeah.
barcode on it. And
No,
then,
you can actually put the barcode. So here's the thing.
yeah.
Lots of people are putting the barcode on the tag.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so they don't
So
have to put the barcode there,
on
and
the
they can
t-shirt. So
say,
let,
you
let
can
me
say here on the tag.
let me break it down. So I buy a t-shirt and it's got a barcode somewhere. I take my phone. Is it an iPhone or an Android?
It could be either.
So I take my phone, I scan that barcode, and then what happens? Whatever the author has created, I see
That's
on my
right.
phone.
It could be a
Or,
game. It could take you to TikTok. It could take you, it could play
reading
a
my phone.
music. It
So
could
the
play an
author has drawn,
animation.
so the author has drawn you from the physical world into their digital world that they've created. This is a
Instantly.
start listening because
Your
this is
tote bags,
immersive.
mugs.
Immersive, yeah.
Mugs. And the beautiful thing is think about a website, right? You always change your website, right?
I do. I
Most of
check my
us. And
website all
then
the
if you're
time. Yeah.
sending them to www.something.com or whatever,
Yeah.
you can do the same thing with these codes, right? As long as you keep the same barcode, you can just change it up and send it out to people going,
Okay, I see what you
rescan, I got
mean.
a new goodie for you. Now, the other thing is you can add other merchandise, right? That you send it along with your book. And that's where I'm headed. I'm wanting to give experiences based on how the merchandise interacts within possible subscription boxes and to give people a real experience. So if the merchandise, which also can coincide with a chapter within the book, they can
So a
then have
chapter
an
within a book,
experience. So
yeah,
if
and you
you,
get the merchandise to match it. That's fantastic.
yeah, so there's book clubs out there right now, subscriptions, where it's very much that. There's no AR right now. You're just getting their book and then you're getting little gifts, but it says
Yes.
open on page 25.
Okay.
And then let's say it was hot chocolate, right? And in the book, it's a romance and they're having hot chocolate by the fire, right? So you're in the mood with you're having the same experience.
Yeah.
But if with what I want to do is I want to just take it up a layer. Oh, if you scan it, what would happen to that hot chocolate? Okay, would a movie pop up? Would a game pop up? Would you get a link to a discount to get more hot chocolate from the
Just
and
from
the
the
hot
book to the physical. Wow, it's
if
exciting.
I'm the hot chocolate people, I'm going to see those analytics that somebody scanned and accessed it. That's something you've never known before.
So people can even do it in partnership with people who are, so someone is selling hot chocolate and say, look, let's collab. Yeah. Let's do a collaboration. In my book, people will open it to this, they buy, I get a little bit on the side. Yeah. Commission.
Or they give you the free product and they just get the analytics.
Or they give you the free product. So the person goes
they give you the free product and you give them the analytics of how people use it. Because if you go, I put all these little things and you go, did anybody use them? Maybe you put in other things like a notebook.
Yeah.
Or all sorts of stuff.
You experiment. I was listening to
So you're trying to give your merchandise to your followers.
Yeah.
And so there's things like that. Yeah, so that's what I would suggest is if you're interested in those kinds of things, I would figure out there's low end augmented reality and then there's going to be high end because it all depends on what it is that you're accessing. But I would say I would start with people going, if you're really passionate about that and you're a do-it-yourself kind of person, do the Snapchat filters for the face or the pets or tie that in somehow, because right away it's going to be less expensive for you to advertise. It's better rates than Facebook and better results and better analytics.
I've never used Snapchat.
Get on it.
Funny enough, never, for some reason. I know a lot of people that use it. I don't know why I never go into Snapchat. But yeah, why not?
You don't have to use it. You could just make your own things. And it's the same thing with TikTok. Same thing with TikTok and
so
Instagram.
Use the filters for what I need to.
Do the filters. And I think that's an
easy way for me to quickly build something. That's what you're saying. Yeah. Without having to know all the without the techie bits. We leave all the big ones to you.
So I would say like the high-end stuff is Unity engine. So what I'm telling you, I have 25 years and I coded it. I don't consider myself a coder at all, really. I'm familiarized myself enough so that I can speak properly and concisely to a developer.
Yeah.
That's the difference between a good designer and not, who educates themselves on the process and the pain points the other person has to do. So that's why I took these courses, so I can understand what it is and how long things take and what do you have to troubleshoot. So knowing that there's this higher end in tech, it may not be so accessible for the self-published, do-it-yourself person, but I am offering those ideas, saying you don't need to be limited. If you're scrappy and you think I can do this, then go ahead. But if you have bigger plans, like I said, things are getting easier and less with AI.
Yeah.
Right? You can now do text to 3D. So if you are on the Discord and you go on Genie, and again, we'll put a link on the Discord server, you can do text to 3D. Like I created some of the elements for my final project, like the little cat and the tombstone, and I just cleaned them up, right? And so it's amazing. I didn't have to buy that. I didn't have to hire someone to create it. Yeah, creating all these different is amazing. And I say, have fun with it and experiment and don't be afraid of it.
And the future looks exciting. So with all of what you've got, your experience and everything you've got now, what are the things that you're most excited about for the future, for yourself, for Interactive Bee Media?
I'm swayed by the two things by adding a layer for authors and having maybe that kind of experience with the merchandise and really helping them expand.
So instead of so I come to you like the way I've got the idea and I say, B, can you do this for me? I want this, and you probably might even do it for a publisher. Because publishers will be interested in this. And funnily enough, we didn't see. Did we see anything? Because London Book Fair is a lot to take it, but I didn't see anything regarding this at all in the book fair. Did you? Did you see anything in terms of XR at the London Book Fair? The last one.
The XR is just the umbrella for AR.
VR. I know there were talks, but I didn't.
Would be you'd have to be a developer to do stuff like that right now.
No, what I'm saying is that like when publisher would display their books or display something, I didn't see anybody with a store. I spoke to a few people in technology section. Somebody say, this is what I'm doing now with VR or AR. I don't know whether I saw a lot of that at the book fair or not.
There was 3
That's
companies.
What I'm saying. Yeah.
So there was one, and so it was very encouraging. One woman who was an author and her own business, and she got into it because her son is autistic. And
she's coming to the. She doesn't know it. She doesn't know it, but she's coming to the podcast. I told her already. Actually, I think I told her that I was going to. Yes, she's started a company and she did a talk. Remember, she did a talk.
She did an excellent talk.
Yes, I told her I will be interested in her coming and she'll come and talk to her because she did it for children's stories.
Yes.
So I'm quite excited about what she's doing.
Yeah, her son went from being nonverbal to chatty. And that's amazing.
It was quite emotional, and that will help a lot of parents who have children with those kind of special needs.
Yeah, so she's using augmented reality.
I'll be inviting her to the podcast.
Yeah, she's using augmented reality to help her son because he couldn't focus, right?
Yeah,
and that happens with a lot.
So I'm looking at my second screen here, trying to ask one question. I ask a few questions. So
I actually wanted to finish answering one other you asked me because there's different kinds
go on then. Go on then.
I wanted to share one more.
Go on then.
So and then you can ask me anything you want. I just want to share this part because I really love the geospatial stuff. Being able to outside. There's another component, another part of AR, and it's called internal wayfinding.
Internal
wayfinding.
So wayfinding. Wow.
So this one would need an app on its own, or you could scan it with a barcode. So imagine going into a university and you don't know your way to get around class and it's your first day. It's going to show you where to get to your class. Or you're in a hotel. need to know, but you can make it a lot of fun so that you're walking along and you could be popping bubbles or do you know what I mean? Whatever is guiding you through and your direction, and you can give people an experience and you can GPS them and know, again, from the analytics, the other side of the coin of who's creating the software is you see how and help people, because especially when my dream is to be able to do it for hospitals, for children's hospitals around the world, because when you're a parent going into that environment, you're just thinking about your kid. You need to find this place, your child needs assistance in some way. That's why you're there. I think that, or when people are going through cancer, caregivers. So I think those types of tools are very helpful. And I thought you could also integrate things like a meditation app that would also help people while they're waiting. So you could really give them experience and maybe give them a free coffee token or
I
something
tell
while
you,
they're waiting. But there's a whole thing about, I think about people
There's a
and they're
whole thing.
using stuff in their environment, not just something that's going to razzle and dazzle them. That's the fun part with the
So the
merch
medical,
part. But the other
medical
part
for
is
children.
so totally two different separate things, but both using AR, both use different technology and software. So anyway, I just wanted to share that other part.
This was what I was talking about, like creativity and technology. So we've gone through a whole spectrum and even came to the medical part of things where we're saying that, look, you can even help people that have all sorts of issues or problems in their lives who can use this technology. It's incredible. So you can do anything with technology these days, and it's just like focusing on those things. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, Bee, is how do you manage your downtime? Because I can see that you're very cerebral. So what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? I really like going for long walks on the seawall. I'm really fortunate enough where I live near the ocean and one of the most beautiful parts of Canada, and near the Stanley Park, and it's like a peninsula. It's like a rainforest. So I call that kind of, I really love walking through there. It gives me a lot of grounding, especially being in front of a computer a lot. What I like also doing is I do watercolors and paints. I try to balance out doing technical stuff with tactile and not really getting caught up on being perfect. It's just more for giggles, not to become the next Da Vinci or whatever. Focus that
just keeping you relaxed.
Clients. And I cook my own food. I'm really simple, but I really love to travel. I really love the UK.
Yeah, I love seeing you. It was fun.
So I save up all my going out for dinners when I travel, and I'm always on the hunt for the best curry. So like when I'm in New York, I know I have a place, and I have a few in London that is so good. I'm just like, I have friends that like every time I go. So next time when I see you next year, we're gonna have to go for something.
I would love it, Bee. I would absolutely love it. So do you have okay, of course you have, because you've actually given a list of people that inspired you. So I was going to ask that question, but you've given us a list of so many names. I'm not going to ask that question anymore. Now we're coming to the end of the podcast. Is there anything else that I haven't asked you that you want to say before I ask my last question? I think we've covered all of the bases, haven't we?
I think so. I think so. What I appreciate is this opportunity as a mature woman in tech. I just want to reinforce that I've met so many cool people. When you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, your inner light glows and it attracts others that are like you. And I just really get upset when I hear when people go, I'm this age and it's over for me. And I'm like, if that's what you're telling yourself,
speak for yourself. Speak for yourself.
That's what's not happening for me. I do what I want.
We're gonna do it with our Zima frames.
Like I'll be in my walker, right? But like most people, you got to have a bounce back factor. I'd say for all those mature women in tech, you have all that experience, what I talked about, like in the waiting room and all that, pardon me, is that we have so much to offer. beyond a layer. Nothing wrong with those young people. We need them, and they
Absolutely.
inspire. And I want to be around that kind of energy and intelligence and talent. They're so out there. But the thing that I bring is this many years on this planet, and being a caregiver and being a student, being a mother, being a wife, being all these different things. And I can contribute that little kind of whimsical thing.
To the world.
And all people can, not just women, but anybody, right? So I just want to encourage people just to say, have fun. If it really means to you, just keep going at it.
Be
Go
curious.
try to connect with other people online, follow them. What do they talk about? That's what I did. I want to hang around people in this digital space that are really passionate about moving the needle forward, but also have a conscience and value that align with my own. And those people that I shared, they do. So I would never say, I'll never send you.
I'm actually really excited about going to go and look for those people because that's fantastic. So where can people, listeners, connect with you? Or if you're on YouTube, once I've uploaded the videos, you'll be seeing Bee. Where can they connect with you? Where is the best place? I think you mentioned X a lot, so
I'm Interactive Bee there, Interactive Bee, and everywhere else I am Interactive Bee Media.
Okay.
So I'm on TikTok, which we'll have there. That they'll just have a few of my geospatials that you'll see.
I want to go see that one.
Project that I did.
That would be good. I'll go to TikTok and go have a look. So guys, if you have anything that you want to create and you've listened to us talk for, I think we've talked over an hour. So if you want anything that you think Bee can do for you, hit her up and ask her, and she'll be more than happy to talk to you. I'll be talking to her as well. So thank you so much for attending this podcast. I loved talking to you. And thank you so much for coming to Talking Tech with Creative Podcast.
Thank you, Stella. This was a great pleasure. I thank you for giving people a platform for their voice and to share their stories and to share about what's coming up in the technology. And I just think that's fascinating. And I think you have a lot of ideas that you're just getting started, right? So, but everybody better be watching this space because Stella's just getting started.
And I'm waiting for your own podcast as well. I know you've got some ideas around your podcast. I'm excited as well. Thanks, Bee.
Thank you.
Let's see.